Hi, and welcome to Somersaults Coaching. My name's Kirstin. If you're seeing this presentation, it's because you are signed up to do the Personal Success Strategy Scan. So that is what we're going to run through. I'll tell you a little bit about who I am. Let me just move my head out of the way, out of the way here. We'll go through the actual scan. I will get you to rate yourself. What this does is gives you a really clear picture of where you are, and we'll talk a little bit about the program just super briefly, and how to rate yourself in here. So we'll cover all of those things, and then a little bit about what people are saying. So let's just jump in. Hopefully this only takes you no more than 15 minutes, should be about 10 minutes to complete, maybe a little less. But okay, so my name's Kirstin. I have a background in corporate HR. So I worked in HR for about eight something years. And then I decided the parts that I loved the most, which were leadership and strategy and growth of the company and of people, was what I loved doing. So I decided to go strictly into that. So now I am a certified coach by Tony Robbins and Chloe Madonis, in strategic intervention, and I'm also certified in laser coaching by Reagan Hillier. I'm not sure if you know who they are, but really great in both of their industries. Great is probably an understatement, but I will not ramble on. Let's jump into the personal success strategy scan. Okay, so what do we want? If you're here, it's because we want to feel like we are thriving and fulfilled, not just in one area of our life, but in every area. So this is in our work, in our relationships, and in our health. We want to feel like we are getting and having time to do the things we love most, that we are good at what we are building and we're enjoying ourselves, and that our relationships are meaningful. And that we're healthy, both mentally and physically, and that we have some peace, some peace of mind. So jumping in, where this can kind of unravel for us is sometimes it's just one area, but usually not. They're all interlinked. So let's just sort of start over here at let's call this sort of the work side of things. So potentially, you're feeling unfulfilled at work, burnt out, overwhelmed, stuck, like something's missing. So sometimes we can feel that, or it could be in our relationships. They just feel like they're suffering. And we think often that it's just with our spouse, but how's our relationship with our kids? How's our relationship with our colleagues and people at work, with our friends? So that's another big piece of our life. And then poor health. Unfortunately, most of the people that I work with and that I see, it seems to be one of the things that is the easiest to take a back burner. And so you can see why these might all interlink. If we don't have proper sleep or nutrition and we're not feeling good, I mean, we're not going to show up as the best version of ourselves, which can cause fights with our significant other or with our children. Or if we're feeling overwhelmed at work, that can impact our relationships, or we don't have the energy to show up in how we need to at work. So that's why I say a lot of the time these are interlinked, but as we continue, we'll get a really clear snapshot of how you are and how you're feeling in each area. Okay, so what do we want and where will we get you? So what comes with the program and when we work together? So we want purposeful and engaging work. We want to know what that is. We want to be clear on what that is for ourselves and how to get it. Nourished and fulfilling relationships. Here we want to have relationships that bring us joy and that we can also contribute to those relationships. It's an extremely important part of our life. And we'll cover off, you'll see in these sections here, this is where we'll do the rating, is when we get up into this area, and we'll go through each section and what we cover in order to make sure that you have each of these sort of green sections on how to have a nourished and fulfilling relationship. And then vibrant health and well-being, and this is both physically and mentally. So this is where we really want to put our health first. I mean, it's the foundation of everything. And like I said in the beginning, it's often what takes the back burner, which is crazy, but it seems to be what we all sort of push off to the side. Or we go into work and we avoid our relationships, any number of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get us to go through and rate yourself using the traffic light system. So green basically is, and I'll go through specifically for each one, but basically if it's a red, you don't have anything in place and you're really struggling in that area. Green is you're doing really well. You're like, I feel good here. I'm okay. And yellow is I am somewhere in between. So we're going to go through these. So let me just keep moving my head around over here. We're going to go through, first we'll start with clear goals and values. So with this, if you are green in clear goals and values, it means you know where you want to be 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years out. You know sort of where you're working towards. You also know your values. You know the things that are most important to you. A lot of people, and I don't want to go on too long here, but aren't even clear what a value is. They don't know what they are, or they know them for their company, but not for their own personal selves. So if you're green here, you know what those are, you know where you're going. If you're red, you were like, I have an idea of some goals, but they're not smart goals. They're not specific. I'm not sure really what my full, like all of my values are. I'm not that clear there. And then yellow is somewhere in between. Map for growth and fulfillment. So when you think about this section when you're rating yourself, a green would be, I know where I'm going, like my ultimate goal. Like if I were to look back on my life and I finished, this is what I want to achieve. This is where I want to go. And you know the milestones along the way. You are able to contribute because that is just a basic human need. Is to be able to contribute and give back. It's one of the higher emotional needs. And celebrate. You celebrate along the way. So this is about enjoying our journey. So if a green is, you know what those milestones are, you know the big picture and where you're going, you are celebrating along the way, or you know where you're going to be celebrating and what you want to celebrate, and you feel like you're contributing as you go. That's a green. A red would be, I don't know where the end goal is. I'm not making time to celebrate. I don't feel like I'm contributing to the level that I want. So those kinds of things would be a red, and yellow is somewhere in between. Personal development and skill growth. I think it's Tony Robbins who says, if you're not growing, you're dying. And the reason for that is because of how important it is. I mentioned that it's so important for us to contribute, but growth is one of those needs as well. And so green here is you're making time to learn and develop yourself. So whether that's listening to podcasts, reading books, however it is that you take on information to learn and improve yourself. So green is you're doing that, you found a way, you have a routine, daily, weekly, that's working for you, and you feel like you're growing, you feel like you're learning. Red is, this is just not something that you're able to make time for right now. It's not something that you're doing. And then yellow is somewhere in between. Boundaries and time strategy. So this is in relationships, but you'll start to see why all of these sort of impact each other. So boundaries. Green here is, you know the boundaries that you need to set, and you have no problem setting them with people. You feel like you get to do the things you want to do in a day, and you have the time to do them. So that would be what a green is. A red is, you often feel like you don't have time to do the things that you really want to do. You have a lot of people asking you for different things, and a lot of the time you end up doing them and it ends up changing your plans. And of course that's okay sometimes, but not when it starts to affect how we truly feel. So you'll know what I'm talking about, I think, as you sort of go through your past and rate yourself here. So that would be a red, is you're not able to set those boundaries. You haven't set those boundaries, and you just aren't getting to the things that you feel are more important, or what you would like to be doing. And then yellow is you're sort of somewhere in between. Communication skills. Now, this is a really important one for relationships, of course, because in order to have strong and fulfilling relationships, we need to be able to communicate our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And so a green here is, when something comes up for you, you have no problem communicating, and you feel like it's well received by the other person. So you feel good in your communication. So I want you to think about it with your kids, with your spouse, and with your other relationships with people at work and friends. On a general basis, do you feel good about how you're able to communicate and how it's received? That would be a green. If you're like, yes, I have the conversations I need, I feel like I'm heard, I feel like I'm able to express myself. Red is no, I don't feel like I can communicate my feelings, whether it's your own self or whether how it's received. You just feel like you could have some improvement here, and you're having issues in terms of communicating with your spouse, with your kids, or at work. Make notes for yourself just so we can get more specific, and when we jump on a call together. And then self-awareness patterns. So we all repeat patterns. Um, what I want here is if you're a green, you're like, I know the things that trigger me and I know how to bring myself back so that I don't stay in that sort of reactionary state. I'm clear of what they are and I know how to handle them. Red is I'm not sure I have any patterns, so no, I don't have any ways of dealing with them. The reason why this is red and the way why I say it that way is because we all sort of repeat a pattern. So whether it's something that we've seen our parents do or whether we've reacted and it's worked for us at one point but doesn't work for us anymore, there are opportunities to watch our patterns and improve upon them. So that would be a red. And then somewhere is yellow would be in between is maybe you know some things that trigger you, but what you've been trying isn't really working, or maybe you think you have some, but you feel like you could understand it better. Those kinds of things would be a yellow. Vibrant health and well-being. So popping down into this section, sustainable physical health habits. Do you have a daily way of moving your body, of keeping yourself in strong physical shape? So whether you're going to the gym, whether you run or sports or do yoga, what is that for you? So that would be that. And then nutrition. Are you eating the way that you want to eat? Are you making time to meal prep and plan? And do you feel good? Do you have a good energy level? So that's green. If you're like, yes, I'm doing all of those things on a regular basis, I have lots of energy, I'm happy, and I feel great. Red is I'm one of those people where it's just falling off and I can't seem to keep a steady routine here. So that would be red. And you're not eating the way that you want, your energy levels are suffering. And then yellow is somewhere in between. Stress management techniques. Well, we all handle, or I shouldn't say handle, we all have a lot of stress that comes in, especially if you're here. The chances are that you're juggling multiple responsibilities, from elderly parents to kids to a big job with lots of responsibilities, and then trying to make time for yourself and for your friends and for your family. So there's always lots going on. So green here is, yes, when stress comes up, when lots are going on, I have a way, tips, tools, tricks that I use to center myself so that even if I start to feel that way, I can bring myself back. So green here is you have ways of handling stress. Red is no, like something happens in my external environment and I am just pulled right into it. I have a hard time getting back. It affects me later. I can tell it's affecting my relationships. I can tell it's affecting other areas of my life. And then yellow is somewhere in between. You've got some things in place, but you could use some support here. Lastly is emotional and mental well-being. So here, a green is I am sleeping like a rock. I like the how my mind works in terms of my thoughts and how I speak to myself, sort of that internal dialogue. And you feel on a whole like good about yourself, good about everything that's going on in your life. You have a positive outlook. And you have things in place that are helping you practice that. So whether it's journaling, breath work, meditation, practicing gratitude, any number of things, you have a daily practice that really helps you here. Red would be no, I'm not, no, I'm not sleeping well. My thoughts keep me up at night. I feel like I have so much going on. And a lot of this can come to that overwhelm and burnout. So I would expect that I'll see a few reds here for sure. And you don't have a practice that you found that works for you yet, on how to bring you back here, and help you deal with all of the stuff that goes on through the day and how to calm the mind and find that sort of peace and quiet. So that would be red, and then yellow is somewhere in between. Okay, so just moving on to this section here. What I want you to do is to go through and rate yourself. I think you were kind of following along with me here. So let's say you could just rate CGV for clear goals and values. And let's say you gave yourself a yellow, right? So then you would score it 5 points. You can see here. So you give yourself a 5 and you go through map for growth and fulfillment. And you can pause the screen here if you want, and you can just go through and do all of these. And then give yourself a score for each color. So green 10, yellow 5, red 2, and then score yourself. And I want you to send me this list. You can just write the letters instead of the full words if that's easier, and your score. And I want you to email that to me, and then we'll have a really good snapshot of where you are and how you're feeling. Just super quickly, this is a little bit about the program and sort of how we run through. So it's a 4-step process that we cover in 3 months. I won't spend a lot of time here, but super quickly, we call it RISE because we go through reflecting, identifying, structuring, and elevating. So what we're going to do is we'll reflect. So on your clarity and goals. So this gets you super clear. This is part of building your blueprint, your sort of roadmap, clear on where you are and goals for where you want to be in each of these areas. Then we're going to work on identifying your values and your needs. Values and needs kind of tie together. I have a few assessments that will help really get you super clear on what these are for you. And then we'll learn a little bit more about the psychology behind those things. But again, I won't go into too many details here. And then structure, in order to get to those goals and to move you from sort of point A to point B, what boundaries and what habits do we need to create for you in order to get you there? And how are we going to do that? So that's part of your blueprint as well. So we'll move you through that. And then in the last part is elevate. So it's that aligned action. And this is sort of where, that accountability partner, which I'll be with you, works. And that's where you have your map and you start to work through things. And we make sure that you're hitting the things that you need to hit. And if not, what's in the way and how do we correct? So that's a little bit just sort of about how the program works and the cycle that we run through. What people are saying, it's good to know that you're in a system that works. So I just thought I would share this. But ultimately, really, I hope that this has provided some insight for you. And I just can't wait to talk to you and speak with you. So looking forward to it. And I hope you have a chance to send that email over soon. Great. Thanks.